The flashing red and blue lights cut through the morning darkness as 3 patrol cars screeched to a halt outside Marcus Thompson's home. His heart hammered against his ribs as officers stormed up his driveway, hands resting on their holsters. "Sir, we received reports of a crime in progress," the lead officer barked. "Something about stolen property worth $50,000. Marcus's blood ran cold. 50,000? His eyes darted to the gaping hole in his backyard where his pool used to be, then to his neighbor Karen standing smugly behind the fence, arms crossed like a victorious general. She'd actually done it. She'd called the police on him for removing his own pool. But what Karen didn't know was that Marcus had been recording everything, and what he'd captured on camera was about to turn her world upside down in ways she never saw coming. Athrobe on his front porch, coffee mug in hand, watching the pool removal crew position their equipment with military precision. After 18 months of legal battles, insurance claims, and sleepless nights, this moment felt surreal. Mr. Thompson, the crew chief, a weathered man named Rodriguez, approached with a clipboard. "Just need your final signature here. Once we start, there's no going back." Marcus signed with a flourish, his hand surprisingly steady despite the magnitude of what was about to happen. "Do it." The first strike of the jackhammer against the concrete sent a shockwave through the ground that Marcus felt in his bones. 18 years of family memories, birthday parties, summer barbecues, his daughter's first swim, were about to become rubble. "What in God's name is going on over there?" The shrill voice cut through the mechanical noise like nails on a chalkboard. Karen Whitmore stood at her kitchen window, still in her pink silk pajamas, face pressed against the glass like a child at a candy store. At 62, Karen had appointed herself the unofficial supervisor of Maple Grove Drive, and nothing, absolutely nothing, happened on this street without her knowledge and approval. Marcus had been dreading this moment for weeks. He deliberately scheduled the removal for early morning, hoping to get a head start before Karen emerged from her fortress of judgment. No such luck. Within minutes, Karen was at their shared fence line, her perfectly coiffed silver hair somehow already styled despite the early hour. She'd thrown a cashmere cardigan over her pajamas and planted herself like a sentinel guarding the gates of suburban respectability. "Marcus Thompson, you stop this nonsense right now!" she bellowed over the noise. Marcus walked over, maintaining what he hoped was a calm expression. "Morning, Karen. Little early for you to be up, isn't it? Don't you morning Karen me." Her face was already flushing red, a sure sign that one of her legendary tantrums was brewing. "You cannot destroy that beautiful pool. Do you have any idea what this is going to do to our property values?" "It's my pool, Karen. On my property." Marcus kept his voice level, though his grip tightened on his coffee mug. "I can do whatever I want with it." "Like hell you can!" Karen fumbled for her phone, her manicured fingers shaking with rage. "There are rules, regulations. You can't just demolish major property features without permits." The jackhammer paused, and in the sudden quiet, Rodriguez called out, "Mr. Thompson, we're ready to break through to the deep end." "Go ahead," Marcus called back, then turned to Karen. "I have all the necessary permits. Filed them 3 months ago." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. But why? That pool is gorgeous. It's the crown jewel of this neighborhood." "Was," Marcus corrected. Past tense. The truth was too complicated, too painful to explain to someone like Karen. How could he tell her that every time he looked at that sparkling blue water, he saw his daughter Emma's face disappearing beneath the surface? How could he explain that 18 months ago, at her 8th birthday party, Emma had slipped on the wet concrete and hit her head, falling unconscious into the deep end? The paramedics had called it a miracle that Marcus had pulled her out in time. The doctor said another 30 seconds, and they would have been planning a funeral instead of a recovery. Emma was fine now, physically. But she hadn't been near the pool since, and neither had Marcus. The insurance company had been all too happy to declare it a liability and recommend removal. But Karen didn't need to know any of that. "You're destroying the whole aesthetic of Maple Grove Drive," Karen continued, her voice rising to a pitch that could shatter glass. "We have standards here. This isn't some trailer park where people can just tear down whatever they feel like." Marcus felt his jaw clench. Careful, Karen. I'm calling the city. She was already dialing, her phone pressed against her ear. Yes, hello? I need to report an illegal demolition in progress at 847 Maple Grove Drive. Yes, I'll hold. The crew had broken through the shallow end now, and chunks of concrete were being loaded into a massive dumpster. The sound was oddly satisfying, like breaking chains. Sir? Karen was speaking into her phone with the authority of someone who expected immediate action. Yes, I'm reporting a violation. My neighbor is destroying a valuable pool without proper permits. No, I don't care what he says. I know he doesn't have permits because I would have been notified as an adjacent property owner. Marcus pulled out his own phone and opened the city planning app. With a few taps, he found his permit application and approval. He held the screen toward Karen, but she was too busy ranting to notice. What do you mean you can't do anything? This is an emergency. He's destroying $50,000 worth of property. Karen's face was now approaching the color of a ripe tomato. Fine. I'll call back with more information. She hung up and whirled on Marcus. You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, I've got news for you. I know people. Important people. This isn't over. It is for me, Marcus said quietly. He turned and walked back toward his house. Where are you going? Karen shrieked. We're not finished. I am. By noon, the pool was gone. 18 years of family history reduced to a pile of rubble and a gaping hole in the earth. Marcus stood at the edge, looking down into what would soon be filled with topsoil and grass seed. It felt like looking into a grave. Emma appeared beside him, her small hand slipping into his. At 9, she was all legs and determination, but her voice was soft when she spoke. Do you think the new grass will be pretty, Daddy? I think it'll be perfect, sweetheart. Want to help me pick out the seed? Can we plant flowers too? Mom always wanted a flower garden. The mention of Sarah hit him like it always did, sudden and breathtaking. His wife had been gone for 2 years now, cancer taking her with the same ruthless efficiency it had taken his peace of mind. The pool had been Sarah's idea, her dream of perfect summer days and family gatherings. But Sarah wasn't here to see what it had almost cost them. Flowers sound perfect, he managed. The crew was packing up their equipment when Karen emerged from her house again, this time fully dressed in what Marcus had come to think of as her battle armor, a severe black suit that made her look like she was heading to either a board, meeting, or a funeral. She marched across her perfectly manicured lawn with the determination of a general leading a charge, clutching a manila folder like it contained state secrets. Marcus Thompson, she called out in a voice that probably carried 3 blocks. I demand to see your permits. Rodriguez looked up from securing a piece of equipment. Lady, we're just the removal crew. Take it up with the homeowner. I am taking it up with the homeowner. Karen thrust the folder toward Marcus. I've done my research, and I know for a fact that you cannot remove a major property feature like a swimming pool without notifying adjacent property owners. Marcus accepted the folder with resignation. Inside were photocopies of city ordinances, property law excerpts, and what appeared to be a hand-drawn diagram of their block with his house circled in angry red ink. Karen, he said wearily, I followed every regulation. I have every permit. The city inspected the job this morning and signed off on it. That's impossible. I would have been notified. You were. Marcus pulled out his phone again and scrolled through his emails until he found what he was looking for. Automated notification sent to all adjacent property owners on March 15th. Here's the delivery confirmation to your email address. Karen's eyes widened as she stared at the screen. I never... That must have gone to spam. Not my problem. But the property values, the neighborhood aesthetic. You can't just... I can, and I did. Marcus closed the folder and handed it back to her. The pool is gone, Karen. Move on. For a moment, Karen stood there sputtering, her mouth opening and closing without sound. Then her face hardened into an expression Marcus had never seen before, something cold and calculating that sent a chill down his spine. You think this is over? She said quietly, her voice taking on a dangerous edge. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I've been protecting the integrity of this neighborhood for 12 years, and I'm not about to let some widower with poor judgment destroy everything I've worked for. Emma stepped closer to Marcus, instinctively sensing the threat in Karen's tone. Are you threatening me, Karen? I'm promising you. Marcus woke Tuesday morning to the sound of car doors slamming in his driveway. He glanced at his alarm clock, 7:23 a.m. Through his bedroom window, he could see the unmistakable silhouette of a police cruiser, its black and white paint scheme stark against the morning light. His stomach dropped. Daddy? Emma appeared in his doorway, clutching her stuffed elephant. There are police cars outside. I know, sweetheart. Stay in your room for a minute, okay? Let Daddy handle this. Marcus threw on jeans and a t-shirt, his mind racing. What could the police possibly want? The pool removal was completely legal. He'd triple-checked every permit, every regulation. But as he hurried downstairs, Karen's words from Sunday night echoed in his memory. By the time I'm finished, Marcus Thompson will regret the day he ever crossed me. The doorbell rang just as he reached the front hall. Through the frosted glass, he could see two uniformed figures. He opened the door to find Officers Martinez and Chen standing on his porch, their expressions serious but not hostile. Mr. Thompson? Officer Martinez, a woman in her 30s with kind eyes, spoke first. We're responding to a report of theft and property destruction. Mind if we ask you a few questions? Theft? Marcus's voice cracked slightly. I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. May we come in? Officer Chen asked. He was younger, maybe mid-20s, with the eager demeanor of someone still proving himself. Marcus stepped aside, and the officers entered his living room. Through the front window, he could see Karen standing on her porch, arms crossed, watching the proceedings with obvious satisfaction. Mr. Thompson, Officer Martinez began, consulting her notepad. We received a report yesterday evening claiming that you removed and disposed of a swimming pool belonging to your neighbor without permission. The complainant alleges theft of property valued at approximately $50,000. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. I'm sorry. Belonging to my neighbor? Officers, that pool was on my property. I have all the documentation. According to the report, Officer Chen interrupted, the pool was a shared amenity that serviced both properties. The complainant states that she has been using and maintaining the pool for several years under an informal agreement with the previous owner. Previous owner? Marcus shook his head in disbelief. Officers, I've lived here for 18 years. I had that pool installed myself in 2007. Every permit, every inspection, every payment, it's all in my name. Officer Martinez raised an eyebrow. The complainant provided us with photographs showing her using the pool, as well as receipts for cleaning supplies and maintenance equipment. She claims you destroyed shared property to spite her after a personal dispute. Marcus felt like he was falling down a rabbit hole. This is insane. Can you tell me who made this complaint? The officers exchanged glances. Karen Whitmore, 849 Maple Grove Drive. She says you've been harassing her family for months and that removing the pool was an act of retaliation. Harassing her family? Marcus's voice rose in pitch. She doesn't have a family. She lives alone. And the only person who's been harassing anyone is... He stopped himself, realizing how this must sound. Sir, Officer Chen said carefully, we're going to need to see those documents you mentioned, property deeds, permits, installation records. Of course, they're in my office. Marcus was already moving toward the stairs when Emma appeared at the top landing. Daddy, what's happening? Why are there police here? The officers looked up at the little girl, and Marcus saw something shift in Officer Martinez's expression, a softening that suggested she was a parent herself. Everything's fine, sweetheart, Marcus called up to Emma. Go get ready for school. I'll be up in a minute. As Emma disappeared back down the hallway, Marcus led the officers to his home office. He pulled out a filing cabinet and began extracting documents. The original property survey, pool installation permits from 2007, inspection certificates, insurance policies, even the contractor's receipts. Officer Martinez examined each document carefully, while Officer Chen took photos. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. These all appear to be in order, Officer Martinez admitted. Property lines clearly show the pool was entirely on your land. So we're done here? Marcus asked hopefully. Not quite, Officer Chen said. We still need to investigate the harassment allegations. Ms. Whitmore claims you've been deliberately antagonizing her, playing loud music, allowing your dog to relieve itself on her property, and making threatening gestures. Marcus stared at him. I don't have a dog. The officers exchanged another look. She also claims, Officer Martinez continued, that you've been taking photographs of her house and yard without permission, and that you threatened her on Sunday when she tried to stop the pool removal. I have security cameras, Marcus said, slowly. They record everything that happens on my property, including Sunday morning. We'd like to see that footage, Officer Chen said immediately. Marcus pulled up the security system on his computer. The cameras had captured everything. Karen's early morning appearance at the fence, her increasingly aggressive behavior, her phone calls, and most importantly, the entire conversation where she had threatened him. The officers watched in silence, as Karen's voice came through the speakers. One way or another, you're going to pay for what you've done here today. Mark my words. When the footage ended, Officer Martinez closed her notepad with a sharp snap. Mr. Thompson, it appears you've been the victim of a false police report. Ms. Whitmore has made serious allegations that are clearly contradicted by both physical evidence and video documentation. What happens now? Marcus asked. We'll be having another conversation with Ms. Whitmore, Officer Chen said grimly. Filing a false police report is a misdemeanor offense. The officers were preparing to leave when Marcus's doorbell rang again. This time, it was his neighbor from across the street, Janet Morrison, looking flustered and apologetic. Marcus, I'm so sorry to bother you, especially with all this, she gestured toward the police car. But I thought you should know. Karen's been going door to door since yesterday, asking all the neighbors to sign some kind of petition against you. Officer Martinez paused in putting away her notepad. What kind of petition? Janet shifted uncomfortably. She's telling everyone that you're dangerous, that you destroyed community property, and that you've been threatening her. She wants the Homeowners Association to take legal action to force you to move. How many people signed? Marcus asked, though he dreaded the answer. That's just it, Janet said, brightening slightly. Nobody would sign it. The Hendersons told her to mind her own business. The Johnsons said they've never had anything but good experiences with you, and old Mr. Peterson actually laughed at her and shut the door. Relief flooded through Marcus, but it was short-lived. She didn't take it well, Janet continued. She started screaming about how the whole neighborhood was conspiring against her, how she was going to get lawyers involved, how she'd make sure everyone regretted not supporting her. Officer Martinez reopened her notepad. Did she make any specific threats? She said she had evidence that Marcus was running some kind of illegal business out of his house, and that she was going to report everyone who didn't sign her petition to the city for property violations. Marcus felt his jaw clench. She's lost her mind. I think you might be right, Janet said quietly. Marcus, I've lived across from Karen for 8 years, and I've never seen her like this. She seems unhinged. After Janet left, the officers spent another hour at Marcus's house, documenting everything. They took copies of his security footage, photographed the empty pool area, and interviewed Emma about whether she'd ever seen Karen in their backyard or using their pool. Never, Emma said firmly. Daddy always said we weren't supposed to talk to the mean lady. Why did he say that? Officer Martinez asked gently. Emma thought for a moment. Because she yells at people, and she called Mommy bad names when Mommy was sick. Marcus felt his hands clench into fists. He'd forgotten about that incident. Karen's cruel comments about Sarah during her chemotherapy, suggesting that the noise from medical equipment deliveries was disturbing her afternoon naps. What kind of bad names? Officer Chen asked. I'm not supposed to say those words, Emma replied seriously, but Daddy got really mad and Mommy cried. The officers finished their interview and prepared to leave. As they walked toward their car, Officer Martinez turned back to Marcus. Mr. Thompson, I'm going to be honest with you. This situation has escalation written all over it. Ms. Whitmore seems to be experiencing some kind of breakdown. False police reports, harassment, campaigns, threats. This kind of behavior can get dangerous. What should I do? Document everything, keep those cameras running, don't engage with her directly no matter what she does, and call us immediately if she sets foot on your property or makes any direct threats. As the police car pulled away, Marcus saw Karen's front door slam shut. But her bedroom curtains were still twitching, and he knew she was watching, planning her next move. He was right. That afternoon, while Marcus was at work and Emma was at school, Karen struck again. This time, she called the county health department, claiming that the pool removal had created a mosquito breeding ground that posed a public health hazard. She followed that up with C. Marcus didn't sleep that night. Every sound from Karen's direction sent adrenaline shooting through his system, the slam of a door, the scrape of a chair, the murmur of her voice as she continued her late-night phone calls. By dawn, he'd heard her accuse him of murder at least 6 more times to different people. At 6 a.m., he called in sick to work and drove Emma to school early, not wanting her anywhere near the house when whatever Karen had planned finally materialized. "Is everything okay, Daddy?" Emma asked as he walked her to the classroom door. "You look tired." "Just grown-up stuff, sweetheart. Nothing for you to worry about." But Emma was too perceptive for her own good. "It's about the mean lady, isn't it?" Marcus knelt down to her level. "Emma, I want you to promise me something. If anyone at all, asks you questions about Mommy or about our family, you tell them to talk to Daddy, okay? Don't answer anything." Emma's eyes widened with worry. "Are we in trouble?" "No, baby, we're not in trouble. But some people might try to confuse you or trick you into saying things. Just remember, you don't have to talk to anyone except Daddy, okay?" "Okay, Daddy." Marcus was driving home when his phone rang. Officer Martinez. "Mr. Thompson, we need to talk. Can you meet me at the station? What's happened now?" "Ms. Whitmore called the district attorney's office last night. She's claiming you murdered your wife and used the pool to dispose of evidence." Marcus pulled over, his hands shaking. "She's completely lost her mind." "I know, but here's the thing. The DA's office has to investigate any murder allegation, no matter how ridiculous. They're sending a detective to interview you this morning. Should I have a lawyer?" "It wouldn't hurt. Mr. Thompson, I want you to know that nobody with half a brain believes this woman, but the system has protocols. We have to follow them." Marcus spent the next 2 hours at the police station, answering questions about Sarah's death, providing medical records, death certificates, and oncology reports. Detective Reynolds, a tired-looking man in his 50s, seemed more annoyed than suspicious. "Mr. Thompson, your wife died at Mercy General Hospital surrounded by medical staff and family members. There's no mystery here. Ms. Whitmore's allegations are..." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Inconsistent with the facts." "So this is over? The murder allegation?" "Yes. But we're opening a formal investigation into Ms. Whitmore's behavior. False police reports, harassment, filing frivolous complaints with city services. She's crossed several lines." Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders, but it was short-lived. "However," Detective Reynolds continued, "I have to warn you. People like Ms. Whitmore don't usually stop when their first plan fails. They escalate. You need to be prepared for that." When Marcus arrived home, he found Karen in her front yard, setting up what appeared to be a makeshift memorial. She'd placed flowers, candles, and a large poster with Sarah's photograph. God only knew where she'd gotten it, on her lawn facing his house. The poster read, "Justice for Sarah Thompson, murdered by her husband. Police cover-up in progress." Marcus sat in his driveway for a full minute, staring at the obscene display. Sarah's smiling face looked back at him from the poster, surrounded by accusations that made his stomach churn. Neighbors were starting to gather on the sidewalk, pointing and whispering. He called Officer Martinez immediately. "She's put up a memorial on her lawn claiming I murdered my wife. There are neighbors taking pictures. We're on our way." Marcus stayed in his car until the police arrived. Within minutes, Officers Martinez and Chen were at Karen's door. but she refused to come outside. Through her front window, Marcus could see her pacing back and forth, talking rapidly on her phone. Officer Chen began documenting the memorial display, while Martinez knocked on Karen's door with increasing force. "Ms. Whitmore, open the door. We need to speak with you." "Go away." Karen's voice was muffled but clearly agitated. "I know my rights. This is my property." "Ma'am, you need to remove the display. It constitutes harassment and potentially libel." "I'm exercising my First Amendment rights. The public has a right to know there's a murderer living in their neighborhood." The gathering crowd of neighbors had grown larger. Marcus recognized most of them: the Hendersons from 2 houses down, the young couple with the baby from the corner house, old Mr. Peterson with his walker. They all looked confused and concerned, but not suspicious of him. That was something, at least. Officer Martinez tried a different approach. "Ms. Whitmore, if you don't remove the display voluntarily, we'll have to arrest you for harassment." The front door finally opened, and Karen emerged like a fury unleashed. She was still in her pajamas, her hair wild, her eyes blazing with righteous indignation. "Arrest me?" she shrieked. "For telling the truth? For trying to protect this neighborhood? From a killer?" "Ma'am, please lower your voice," Officer Chen said calmly. "I will not lower my voice. That man," she pointed dramatically at Marcus, "murdered his wife and destroyed the evidence. He removed that pool because it contained DNA evidence." Mrs. Henderson, a gentle woman in her 70s, stepped forward from the crowd. "Karen, honey, that's enough. Sarah Thompson died of cancer. We all went to her funeral." Karen whirled on her. "You're all brainwashed. Can't you see what's happening? He's got the whole neighborhood fooled." "Ma'am," Officer Martinez said firmly, "you need to remove this display and cease making false accusations, or you're going to be arrested." "False accusations?" Karen's voice reached a pitch that made several people wince. "I have evidence. I have proof." She ran back into her house and emerged moments later with a cardboard box. "I've been documenting everything. Every suspicious activity, every piece of evidence the corrupt police ignored." She dumped the contents of the box onto her lawn. It was like watching someone's descent into madness spill across the grass. Dozens of photographs of Marcus's house taken from various angles, handwritten timelines of his daily activities, printouts of Sarah's obituary with notes scrawled in the margins, and what appeared to be a hand-drawn map of the neighborhood with red arrows pointing to his property. "Look at this." Karen grabbed a photograph showing Marcus taking out his garbage. 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Who takes out garbage at 3:47 a.m. unless they're disposing of evidence? Officer Chen picked up one of the handwritten pages. Marcus could see from where he stood that it was covered in Karen's cramped handwriting, detailing his comings and goings with military precision. "Ma'am, this appears to be stalking behavior," Officer Chen said quietly. "It's investigation," Karen protested. "Someone has to seek justice for that poor woman." Marcus had heard enough. He got out of his car and walked toward the scene, his jaw set with determination. "Karen," he said in a voice that carried across the gathering crowd, "you want to know what really happened to my wife?" She turned to face him, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Finally, you're going to confess." "Sarah died of ovarian cancer," Marcus said clearly, his voice carrying to every neighbor present. "She was diagnosed in January 2021. She underwent chemotherapy, radiation, and 2 surgeries. She died at Mercy General Hospital on March 15, 2022, surrounded by her family, her medical team, and about 20 other people." "Lies," Karen screamed. "The reason I removed the pool," Marcus continued, ignoring her, "is because my daughter nearly drowned in it at her birthday party. Emma slipped on the wet concrete, hit her head, and fell unconscious into the deep end. I pulled her out and performed CPR until the paramedics arrived. She survived, but she hasn't been near the pool since. Neither have I." The crowd had gone completely silent. Several neighbors were openly staring at Karen with disgust and disbelief. "More lies!" Karen's voice was getting hoarser. "Elaborate. Cover stories." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Officer Martinez, remember I mentioned I had security cameras?" "Yes." "They've been recording for 2 years. Everything, including the night Sarah died." The color drained from Karen's face. You can't. Privacy laws. The cameras only record my property, Marcus said calmly. But they picked up audio from your yard too, including all your phone calls, including the ones where you admitted you made everything up. Officer Martinez stepped forward with interest. Mr. Thompson, are you saying you have recordings of Ms. Whitmore making false statements? Hours of them, including detailed conversations, where she admits she never used my pool, never had any agreement with previous owners, and that she was deliberately lying to cause trouble. Karen's face cycled through several emotions: rage, fear, calculation, and finally, desperate defiance. You're all in on it, she screamed at the gathered neighbors. Can't you see? He's got all of you fooled. The police, the neighbors, everyone. It's a conspiracy. Mrs. Henderson shook her head sadly. Karen, you need help, dear. This isn't normal behavior. Don't you dear me, Karen snarled. When he kills again, remember that you all had a chance to stop him. That was the final straw for Officer Martinez. Ma'am, you're under arrest for filing false police reports, harassment, and stalking. As the handcuffs clicked into place, Karen's rage transformed into something that chilled Marcus to the bone, a cold, calculating smile. You think this ends anything? She said quietly, her voice carrying a promise of future vengeance. I know people, important people. This is just the beginning. But